The sides of a 30, 60, 90 right triangle also have a special relationship. If you take an equilateral triangle and draw the altitude, that divides the equilateral triangle into two smaller triangles with angle measures 30, 60, and 90. If I look at it bigger, there's our right angle, and the bigger angle of the two acute angles is 60 degrees, just like the 60-degree angle from the equilateral triangle. The three angles add up to 180, so 60 plus 90 plus 30, which is like half of one of the bigger angles in the equilateral triangle. This gives us three sides: the short leg, the long leg, and the hypotenuse. And now we have several formulas that use different side lengths. The hypotenuse is equal to the short leg times 2. You could also say the short leg equals the hypotenuse divided by 2. The long leg equals the short leg times the square root of 3. And if you solve that for the short leg equals the long leg divided by the square root of 3. But since you can't have a radical in the denominator, multiply by square root of 3 over square root of 3, which gives you short leg equals long leg times the square root of 3 over 3. So really we have just two formulas, except for each formula they're solved for different sides. No matter where you start, if you don't know the short leg, find the short leg first, and that will make the rest of your work a lot easier. Another way to look at these formulas, and this is if you combine both of the triangles, the 45, 45, 90 and the 30, 60, 90. The side that's opposite the 30-degree angle is the hypotenuse times the square root of 1 over 2. And we know the square root of 1, it's just 1, so it's really the hypotenuse times 1 over 2. But we'll leave it the square root of 1 over 2 so you can see how the pattern works. The side opposite 45 degrees is the hypotenuse times the square root of 2 over 2. And the side opposite 60 degrees is the hypotenuse times the square root of 3 over 2. So as the angle gets bigger, the numerator gets bigger in the formula. So make sure you have these written down and use them if you need them. Find x and y. Number 1. Here we have a 30, 60, 90 triangle. The hypotenuse is x. The short leg is 1/2. And the long leg is y. We need to find the short leg first, and we already know the short leg. So now let's find the other sides. Start with x. That's the hypotenuse. So we use the hypotenuse equals formula, and since we know the short leg, we'll do hypotenuse equals short times 2. Hypotenuse is x. The short leg is 1/2 times 2. So x equals 1. Now for y. Y is the long leg. Let's use the long leg equals formula. Long equals short times the square root of 3. Substitute the values. Long is y, short is 1/2, times the square root of 3. So y equals the square root of 3 over 2. Don't punch the square root of 3 in your calculator. Just leave that in the answer. Hypotenuse equals short times 2, and long equals short times square root of 3. Number 3. Here we have a 30, 60, 90 triangle. The hypotenuse is 11. The short leg is x, and the long leg is y. We need to find the short leg first. We don't know the short leg, but we do know the hypotenuse. So let's use the short equals formula that includes the hypotenuse. Short equals hypotenuse divided by 2. Substitute in. Short is x, hypotenuse is 11, divided by 2. So x is 11/2. Now find the long leg. The long equals formula. Long equals short times the square root of 3. Substitute in. Long is y, short is 11/2, times the square root of 3. When you multiply there, y equals 11 times the square root of 3 all over 2. Short equals hypotenuse divided by 2, and long equals short times the square root of 3. Number 4. We have a 30, 60, 90 triangle. The long is 9 square root of 3. The short is x, and the hypotenuse is y. We need to find the short leg first. Since I know the long leg, let's use the short equals formula that includes the long leg. Short equals long times the square root of 3 over 3. Substitute in. Short is x, long is 9 square root of 3, times the square root of 3 over 3. You can put that over 1. X equals 9 times 3 over 3, because the square root of 3 times the square root of 3 equals 3. So x is 9. Now find the hypotenuse. That's y. Hypotenuse equals the short times 2. Hypotenuse is y. Short is 9 times 2. So y is 18. Short equals long times the square root of 3 over 3. And hypotenuse equals short times 2. Number 7. An equilateral triangle has an altitude length of 36 feet. Determine the length of a side of the triangle. Well, if I have an equilateral triangle with an altitude that's 36 feet, remember the altitude divides an equilateral triangle into two smaller triangles that are 30, 60, 90s. I'm looking for the length of a side of that triangle, and that will be the length of one of the sides of the 30, 60, 90 triangle. If I look at that by itself, what I have here is that the long leg is 36, the short leg I don't know, And my final answer will be the hypotenuse. So to find the hypotenuse, I first need to find the short leg. Since I know the long leg, let's use the short equals formula that also has the long leg in it. Short equals long times the square root of 3 over 3. Substitute in. Short equals long is 36 times the square root of 3 over 3. You can put 36 over 1 and reduce. 36 and 3 are both divisible by 3. So 36 becomes 12 and 3 becomes 1. So short equals 12 times the square root of 3 over 1, which is just 12 square root of 3. Now let's finish the question and find the hypotenuse, which is x, which is a side of the big triangle that I was asking for in the beginning. So use hypotenuse equals short times 2. Hypotenuse is x, short is 12 square root of 3 times 2. I can multiply the numbers outside the radical, 12 and 2, so x is 24 times the square root of 3, and that's feet. So when the altitude of an equilateral triangle is 36 feet, one of the sides of that triangle is 24 times the square root of 3 feet.